I don't know if it's an eel or is it a dead bear. I don't know what it is.
From KUOW in Seattle and Chris Morgan Wildlife, welcome to the wild.
Currently minus 31, feels like minus 41.
Feels like minus 41. All right. Churchill, here we come.
I'm wildlife ecologist Chris Morgan, and I've spent my life traveling to incredible places to understand and protect wildlife. I tell these stories through films and podcasts to help inspire people about this dazzling world we live in.
Can't believe that. That is unreal.
Right now, I'm heading into polar bear country, Manitoba, Canada, to take part in something pretty extraordinary. With me is my podcast producer, Matt Martin.
Feel chill in your bones when you listen to this Arctic wind blast.
And Paul Bikis behind the camera.
We got to pet dogs all day.
This will be my third trip to the town of Churchill in the last 10 years, and I'm excited to reconnect with a legendary friend from the polar bear world.
I'm looking for a Nick Lunn. Oh.
Chris, how are you?
I'm very well.
Yeah, good to see you.
Good to see you.
Yeah, it's been a number of years.
Dr. Nick Lunn is a veteran polar bear biologist, and he was one of the first scientists to ring the alarm bell about climate change. He's been dedicated to these bears for a long time.
This is my second home, as I like to call it, my second family at this study center.
So why are we here? Well, for the past 40 years, Nick has been leading a capture study for the Government of Canada to gather data on how these bears are doing in a fast-changing world. There are 19 subpopulations of polar bears spread across the Arctic, and the bears of Western Hudson Bay are one of the most important groups for research. Predicting their future is critical for the species at large. And here on Hudson Bay, spring is an important time of year. Nick is here to capture and assess mums with newborn cubs, to see how things look for the next generation of bears. And he's agreed to have us along to document the work.
And this is our lab. This is where we set up. We're here in the spring and the fall at this in this facility.
Churchill is uniquely suited for studying polar bears for two reasons. First, where the Churchill River meets Hudson Bay, the mix of fresh and salt water creates a rich ecosystem. Phytoplankton attract fish, fish attract seals, and seals attract polar bears. Hudson Bay's ice melts completely each summer, which forces the bears ashore, making their movements predictable and easier for researchers like Nick to study.
This is a poster, and it shows, first of all, it shows individual bears and different movement, different home ranges in different years.
It was through this study that Nick discovered how important the land around Hudson Bay is to polar bear mothers. His research showed that this is one of the largest polar bear maternity denning areas in the world. And it led to the creation of Wapusk National Park in 1996, protecting over 11,000 square kilometers of essential polar bear habitat for mothers to give birth.
So each bear gets a unique number. The X designates the country. This is a scale that we're going to weigh the cubs on. This is trusty rope that we can measure the girth. Gun that fires the darts that immobilize the bears. With the drug we're using, it's very, very safe for the bears, and it's very, very safe for us.
Nick's long-term research and capture work shows trends that short studies wouldn't reveal. It's really important to get a sense of the size, weight, and number of cubs that mothers are having, to see how many survive over time. They are the future of this population, after all.
This is great. We're already into it.
Yeah.
We haven't taken our coats off and we're doing interviews.
I think maybe Jason wants
yeah.
to sign you in.
Okay, yes, that's right.
I don't know.
I'm itching to get out of the lab and into the icy world of the bears. But right away, it's clear that there's something else in charge. The Arctic weather.
Oh, if it's minus 30 or colder, we can't go out and work on the cubs because they have no body fat and you drug them, right? And when it's cloudy, we're sort of
It's a little narrow window, basically.
Flying helicopters in the Arctic to capture bears is tricky. We can't fly in the snow for our safety, and we can't capture cubs if it's minus 30 or colder for their safety. So we'll be hanging around Churchill, learning about bears until the conditions line up.
So another day of waiting.
Yesterday was too cold, and today is too cloudy. So we grab our mics and head into town. Time to meet some other folks in the bear world.
Oh, what would you give right now to see a polar bear and her cubs? Just,
That would be amazing.
First stop is to meet another polar bear researcher.
Can you tell me your name and what your job title is or what you do?
Yeah, sure. So my name is Louise Archer. I'm working on developing energy budget models for polar bears to aid in their conservation and management.
Wow. Are you Canadian?
I am not Canadian. I come from a small town on the southwest coast of Ireland.
And it's a chance to get deeper with Nick too, on the tough but delicate lives these polar bears live.
Can you encapsulate how a warming world or something out there that is changing is impacting these bears?
For polar bears, their life history is dependent on sea ice. That's where they hunt seals. That's how they put on all their weight. So they stay out on the sea ice as long as they possibly can.
They'll move on the sea ice, they'll hunt on the sea ice. Some of them will even build their dens on the sea ice, and they'll breed on the sea ice.
When the sea ice is not there?
When the sea ice is not there, that's actually when polar bears start to see them burn through a lot of body fat.
Polar bears are as big as polar bears are because they have that high fat diet, which are these seals, whether they're ring seals or bearded seals.
They're very effective hunters when they're out on the sea ice. But when they move onto land, they're really not very effective at hunting at all.
For this subpopulation, because the sea ice melts completely every year, they don't have an option of going somewhere else. They come ashore.
As the climate warms, the sea ice around Hudson Bay is melting sooner and freezing later. Bad news for the bears. Less ice means fewer seals to eat. We ask one of the locals, Georgina Berg, what she remembers of the ice patterns.
It used to be by October 31st, the Hudson Bay was frozen over and the bears were on their way to their next migration spot. But now, it's like December 10th and the water is still open.
So when you start having sea ice breaking up earlier and earlier, it has an immediate impact on how many seals bears are able to kill, how much fat they're able to put on. There's more stress on them, sort of long-term stress, because they're on shore longer and longer with a diminishing food resource.
The models that I'm working on are trying to really get at like what's driving those patterns, and then look at what future sea ice loss might mean for the bears.
It's a tough life for these bears, but especially the females. When they are pregnant, they go through an unimaginable fasting period.
Adult females who are pregnant, they're going to be on shore for roughly 8 months with no access to seals. And so from whatever they come ashore with their fat reserves, they've got to produce anywhere from 1 to 3 cubs. They've got to be able to produce milk for those cubs, and they've got to be able to get them back out onto the sea ice.
So when the sea ice freezes in the fall, all the bears head out, eager to eat, but not the pregnant females. They have to stay on land to give birth, if they are in good enough shape.
She'll stay with her cubs in the den, these tiny, tiny bears. Then come springtime, so in around March, that female and her cub or cubs can be ready to leave the den.
And that's why Nick and his team are here right now.
I feel like I'm standing on the edge of two worlds. One world is the icy Hudson Bay that way, and that's where all the bears are. All the polar bears are out on the ice doing what they do, which is hunt for seals. The only bears that are not out there are the females that have just given birth to cubs a couple of months ago. And they're coming out of their dens now, and they're heading from that direction, which is land. And they'll move from the land onto the sea ice. And the mothers have not eaten. They've been fasting for 8 months at this point, because they went into the dens to give birth to these cubs, while all the other bears got to go out on the ice in the fall.
There's a break in the weather window at last. It's finally warm enough and clear enough for us to go out with Nick. We grab mics, coats, and equipment and get ready for the incoming helicopter.
So the helicopter's going to be here in a minute. We're due for a arrival from them at 10 o'clock, and it's 10 o'clock, so we're getting our gear on now. We're going to load them up fairly quickly and then hit the skies and start looking for bears.
Podcasting magic.
Without a track? There were some older ones, I think. Let's go back and at least have a look. Where are you looking, Nick? Right off our nose? Oh yeah, I see them. There it is, right in front of us. Yeah, running.
We look down and see a lone bear running across the sea ice.
I still can't tell if there's a cub. Could be an adult male. I can't tell. Maybe put it on David's side. Hard to say, but I would think maybe a younger male.
Nick only wants to capture females with cubs in the spring, and this bear does not appear to have a cub, so we continue on.
That's the track going out. Oh, and then he doubled back. And then double back, so we're following it.
Minutes later, we come across another bear that is much larger, probably a male, and it appears to have something in its mouth.
Oh, it's something bloody. I don't know if it's a deal or is it a dead bear. I don't know what it is.
The pilot descends, and as we approach the adult male, he drops whatever was in his mouth and takes off running. Both helicopters circle for a minute and then land about 50 yards from a tiny, motionless figure. It's a polar bear cub, lying dead in the snow.
We saw it had something in its mouth, and we thought maybe it was a seal, but it turned out to be a bear cub, and now we're thinking maybe that bear, the first bear, might have been an adult female, and this might have been her cub that adult male took. So,
Oh, that's so sad.
This happens in the bear world. Males sometimes kill cubs for a number of reasons, but witnessing it is incredibly rare.
Just brutal to see. We almost just witnessed this cub being killed. There were two bears in the area. One of them was probably the female, and the other one could be the bear it was the bear that probably killed this one.
Dave, Nick's research assistant, explains what that mother bear went through to get her cub out to the ice.
Yeah, for her to fast 8 months, not only fast for 8 months, fast while gestating, fasting while lactating, and then migrating 100 kilometers potentially with this cub back to the sea ice, having nothing to eat in that whole time, and then, yeah, losing that cub instantly on the sea ice must have been pretty traumatic for that female.
I'll never forget this scene. Even Nick has never witnessed it in 40 years of research. A reminder of just how brutal life is for these incredible mother bears and their cubs. The next day, the weather is still good, so the team continues the search for mums with cubs.
Lots of activity in that creek. Is that the way you're looking at, Nick? There's just some right. Oh, there's a bear right there. They're right in front of us, or right off our nose.
Nick spots a bear on the edge of a frozen lake, and it looks like she might have some cubs by her side.
Did she have two when we first sighted her? She had two, yep. Oh, where's the other one?
One cub stays right next to her, but the other cub has run off in the opposite direction.
Oh yeah, it's right down there. In the trees? In the snow. So how do you wrangle a polar bear cub? Oh, you're gonna find out.
Nick hops out of the helicopter, walks over to the cub, who's hiding in a tree well. Slips a loop gently over its head and picks it up, then carefully walks it back over to the helicopter. We fly the tiny cub across the lake and reunite the family.
There he is.
Can I carry her over?
I come in slowly. The scene is so tranquil. Mum is fast asleep with the other cub next to her.
How's Mum looking? Have you had a chance to?
Yeah, she's thin. She's very, very, very thin. I mean, and which one would expect. She's been on shore for 8 months. And while she's been on shore, she's produced 2 cubs.
Nick and Dave get straight to work. The cubs are gently sedated.
Cub 1 is a female, and I haven't sexed this one.
You want to look?
I check the other cub.
Also female.
Head length for the cub is 144. Straight line for the cub, 066.
Weight.
Yeah.
All right then, I guess.
16 and a half.
Okay.
This bear's done, so I'm gonna work on the second cub before it starts coming out.
Things are done fast and smoothly. Nick wants minimal stress on the bears.
Close that bag up.
Yeah.
All of the information collected today will go into a database to understand and help these bears, and help scientists predict their future all over the north.
She was shivering a lot, so I'm just trying to keep her warm. While Nick's working on the other cub.
As I'm holding her, she starts to snore.
Wish you a long and happy life, long cub.
Nick reminds us of the stark truth about what these bears are facing.
As females are coming ashore with less and less, they aren't producing as many cubs as they used to, right? And so what you're ending up happening is you're getting this shrinking cub production from females. And if that continues long term, you end up with a population in decline.
Nick's research has shown that this population is really struggling. Since the 1980s, their numbers have fallen from 1,200 bears to around 800. That's over a 30% drop.
So we often think about the challenges to polar bears, but it's important to know what we can do as well.
You mentioned it a little bit, but is there something else you could say about how you're hoping this research might help bears?
This population is sort of, a key one because we're able to look at all those impacts. What is the impact of this warming climate on bears? And what we hope and, that we can achieve is the science supports what might be coming down the pipe for other subpopulations. They're not all going through this now.
The modelling research from the group I work in found that polar bears would persist in more areas of the Arctic for longer by moderately reducing our fossil fuel emissions.
Nick and Dave finish up. The bear family will soon wake up to continue their journey out onto the sea ice to hunt. As I lay the 3 bears close together, it's not lost on me that these 2 tiny female cubs could be future mothers.
There you go, little one.
I hope they thrive. My time here has really moved me. It's given me such a clearer understanding of what everyday life is like for the Hudson Bay polar bears that are teaching us so much. Over 20 years ago, they rang an alarm bell for Nick. He became one of the first scientists to show that a changing climate was real and that it's affecting the lives of the bears he's now worked on for 4 decades. Seeing the grit and determination of these mother bears and their cubs in one of the harshest environments on Earth reminds me that it is about individuals, individual animals, and individual people pushing forward to a better future.